What if every connection you think you've ever made was never real? What if the people you trust, the people you love, the people you swear you understand, were nothing more than mirrors reflecting your own mind back at you? Because in a few minutes, I'm going to show you something that might break the way you see every relationship you've ever had. But first, the illusion begins earlier than you think. And if you stay until the end, you'll understand the one truth that nobody wants to admit about human connection. Because if we did, everything would fall apart. Think about the last time you felt connected to someone. Maybe it was a friend, a stranger, someone online, a partner. But be honest. Did you connect to them or to the story you created about them? Because your brain doesn't connect to people. Your brain connects to patterns, to familiarity, to anything that feels like you. That means maybe you never loved who you thought you loved. You loved the piece of yourself that you saw in them. Neuroscience shows something uncomfortable. Your brain doesn't observe reality. It predicts it. It guesses. It invents. It fills the gaps. So when you feel connection, your brain might just be saying, this person matches something familiar. I know how to predict them, so I'll call this connection. But that's not connection. That's recognition. That's memory. That's survival. Now imagine this. You're talking to someone. They smile, you smile, they nod, you nod. It feels real. It feels mutual. It feels shared. But what if each of you is actually having a completely different experience? What if the moment you think you're sharing only exists inside your head? Here's the hard part. That might be the closest thing to real connection we ever get. Hold that thought. Because in a minute, I'll show the experiment that proves how little we actually understand each other. There's a psychological study called the illusion of introspection. It shows that you don't fully know yourself, you don't fully know others, and others don't fully know you. Yet somehow, everyone behaves as if they do. You assume someone's angry. You assume someone likes you. You assume someone is safe or kind or honest. But these assumptions are rarely based on truth. They're based on mental shortcuts, and shortcuts create illusions. Here's the twist. The more uncertain you are, the stronger the illusion becomes. People fill the unknown with whatever makes them feel safest. And that feels like connection. Think about a conversation you had recently where you felt deeply understood. Now here's the uncomfortable question. Did you feel understood? Or did you feel heard? Because being heard feels like safety, validation, relief, familiarity. But being understood requires something much harder. Someone having access to the private universe inside your mind. And nobody has that. Not fully. Not ever. Even the people closest to you only understand a tiny percentage of who you truly are. But before you think this is turning into a message of loneliness, here's where the illusion gets interesting. Maybe connection feels real not because it's accurate, but because it's shared illusion. Two people building something fragile, together. Not perfect understanding, not psychic alignment, but mutual willingness to believe in something that cannot be proven. Years ago, a man named Elias was on a long train ride. Next to him sat a woman crying quietly. He asked if she was okay. She said yes, then continued crying. They didn't talk again. They didn't exchange names. They didn't follow each other. But for the next 2 hours, she cried while he sat beside her in silence. When the train stopped, she said, "Thank you for letting me not be alone." He nodded. She smiled. And they walked away. Here's the thing. They didn't know anything real about each other. Not their childhoods. Not their fears. Not their values. Yet something was shared. Connection or illusion? Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe that moment was real because both of them believed it was. Ever notice how sometimes you feel more comfortable opening up to a stranger than to someone close? It's not because the stranger connects better, it's because they don't have expectations. They don't have history. They don't have mental files about you. They don't judge based on who you were yesterday. In other words, there's more space for illusion. And illusions feel safe. That safety feels like connection. People often drift apart not because they change, but because the illusion dissolves. You stop projecting. You start seeing flaws. You see the human under the story. And suddenly, you miss the connection you thought you had. But maybe what you really miss is the illusion that made everything feel effortless. What if connection was never meant to be perfect understanding? What if it was never meant to be mind reading, or total alignment, or spiritual merging? What if connection is simply two imperfect minds trying, despite the impossibility of truly knowing each other? Connection isn't accuracy. Connection is effort. Connection is two illusions choosing to coexist. There is one kind of connection that may not be an illusion, not romantic, not friendship, not spiritual, but something much simpler: recognition of vulnerability. When someone shows you the part of them that scares them most, and you don't run, that moment is real. Because vulnerability isn't a projection. It's not a story. It's not a guess. It's truth. And truth is the only thing that breaks the illusion, even if it's just for a second. So, what if connection is an illusion? Maybe it is. But maybe illusions are not lies. Maybe they're the bridges we build to reach each other across the impossible distance between two separate minds. Maybe connection isn't something that exists. Maybe it's something we create. And maybe that makes it even more beautiful. If this made you think, if it challenged something inside you, take a moment and leave a comment. I'd love to know what this illusion means to you.